What really happened inside Robert Redford's quiet funeral? Why did Hollywood's brightest star choose complete silence over spotlight? And who among his friends couldn't stop their tears? While others whispered that perhaps this was exactly how he wanted to go. 3 days after the shocking announcement of his death, the film world stands still. Robert Redford, the Hollywood legend whose face defined an era, is gone at 89. Yet the way he left this world, modestly, privately, and far from red carpets, has left everyone asking, why did the man who once ruled Hollywood choose such peace and distance in the end? It was early morning in Utah, a place Robert Redford loved more than Hollywood itself. The mountains, the quiet, the wide-open sky. That's where his family gathered for one final farewell. No cameras, no journalists, no Hollywood glamour. His representative confirmed that the service would be without guests, media, or public ceremonies. Only those dearest to him would attend. His wife, Sybil Zeggers, their daughters Shauna and Amy, and 7 grandchildren standing together against the soft wind of the Utah mountains. There were no velvet ropes or flashbulbs, only flowers, mountain air, and the echo of a man who had once turned fame into something meaningful. The casket was simple, handcrafted from local wood, exactly as he wished. His favorite songs, quiet guitar notes, played in the background. His grandchildren laid small wildflowers near him. He had always said that nature, not stone, should hold his memory. Robert Redford wasn't just a movie star. He was a visionary. Born in 1936, he rose from humble beginnings in California to become one of the most celebrated actors and directors in history. But unlike many, he wore his fame lightly. He once said in an interview, "I don't chase the light, I'd rather paint it." And he did. Through art, through the Sundance Film Festival, through his environmental activism, and through films that made people think long after the credits rolled. From Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid to The Sting, from All the President's Men to The Natural, Redford didn't just play characters. He embodied integrity. He was the kind of man who preferred the mountain wind to the noise of awards shows, who found peace in art and meaning in silence. When news of his passing broke, Hollywood paused. Stars, filmmakers, and friends came forward, each voice trembling with emotion. Leonardo DiCaprio called him an absolute legend, crediting Redford for changing the way Hollywood viewed storytelling. He said, "Redford wasn't just a star, he was a compass." Every generation that followed looked to him for direction. Brad Pitt, who worked with him on A River Runs Through It, said, "He taught me that less is more, in acting and in life." He didn't perform, he was. His silence spoke louder than any dialogue. Meryl Streep, who shared the screen with him in Out of Africa, broke down during her tribute. With tears in her eyes, she said, "Robert wasn't acting, he was always listening. He carried honesty in his bones. He could stand in silence and still tell you the whole story." Her voice cracked mid-sentence, and for a brief moment, even reporters went silent. It was as if every memory of Redford's golden smile filled the room again. One of the most touching tributes came from Nell Newman, the daughter of Redford's longtime friend and co-star Paul Newman. Their friendship began on the set of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and lasted until Newman's passing in 2008. Nell recalled, "My father always said Robert was the only man who understood his kind of silence. They didn't compete. They completed each other." She shared that Redford deeply influenced Newman's passion for environmental causes and social work. Together, they helped build foundations and support programs for clean energy and conservation, quietly, without ever putting their names in bold print. "He wasn't loud about his kindness," Nell added. "He just did what needed to be done." Even though Redford's funeral was private, the world still gathered in spirit. Across social media, fans shared photos of him in his iconic roles, using the hashtag #WantThankYouRobert. Clips of The Way We Were and The Great Gatsby flooded timelines. Directors like Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese praised him as a true artist who valued purpose over fame. Former U.S. President Barack Obama tweeted that Redford's life was a masterclass in using art for good. Outside his ranch in Sundance, Utah, Fans left handwritten letters, small sketches, and flowers. Someone left a note that read, "You showed us what grace looks like when the lights go out." Inside the small chapel where the family gathered, his wife Sibylle reportedly spoke softly, thanking everyone who had loved him. She said, "He loved this earth, he loved its stories, and he left quietly, just as he lived, creating beauty, not noise." There were no speeches from celebrities, no grand tributes, only family prayers, gentle music, and the mountains watching in stillness. Beyond acting, Redford's greatest legacy may be his Sundance Institute, which nurtured generations of filmmakers. He gave unknown storytellers a platform when no one else would. It was his rebellion against the system, his belief that art belonged to everyone. Redford was also a devoted environmentalist, speaking about climate change and land preservation long before it was popular. He used his fame to raise awareness but never sought credit. His friends say he lived with gratitude, waking early, painting, walking through his ranch, spending quiet evenings with Sibylle. He loved simplicity, strong coffee, wildflowers, and honest conversation. But why did he want his farewell to be so private? Some say it was humility, others whisper it was exhaustion from the noise of fame. For years, Redford had been disillusioned by Hollywood's obsession with celebrity. He once told a close friend, "When the world starts applauding too loudly, that's when you should walk away." Maybe this was his final walk, into the silence he'd always valued more than applause. As the sun set behind the Utah mountains that evening, the last few family members stood in silence. A gentle breeze lifted through the trees, almost like a whisper, a curtain call from nature itself. His daughter Shauna reportedly placed a folded letter beside the casket. No one knows what it said, but one family friend described the moment as quiet closure, the kind Robert would have wanted. When the ceremony ended, there were no camera flashes, no red carpet exits, only peace. The family left together, hand in hand. But the world outside didn't stop remembering. Tributes poured in from Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Generations of filmmakers thanked him for inspiring them to tell stories with honesty and courage. He had once said, "All I ever wanted was to tell the truth through film." And in the end, he did. Not just on screen, but in life. So, how do you say goodbye to Robert Redford? A man who defined elegance without trying, who changed cinema without needing applause. You don't. You let his films keep speaking, his art keep teaching, and his silence keep echoing. He left the world the way he lived. Quietly, purposefully, beautifully. No glitter, no spotlight, just the truth, framed in the simplicity of love and nature. And perhaps, that's the real ending he always wanted.